Hello everyone, this is part 32 of What If Naruto Was Like Edward Elric in Fullmetal Alchemist, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Naruto rocketed through the air at Deidara, who dodged and let Naruto fly towards the cliff before attempting to fly off out of his range. What was that? If that's the best you can do, then you'll never get your buddy's body back. Naruto stuck to the cliff with chakra and sprang back towards Deidara again, who simply maneuvered his bird out of his path again, making Naruto narrowly miss to taunt him. Ooh, so close, Naruto immediately made a cage bunchen and springboarded off of the clone right at Deidara, too close for him to dodge. Naruto kicked Deidara right in the face, catching the man off guard, as he sure hadn't expected Naruto to make a temporary platform in mid-air, let alone one that could actually reach him. Before he could fly too far off into the air, his bird kept him from falling and kept him in flight. Naruto landed back on the ground next to Kakashi and Sasuke as Deidara regained his composure and looked down at them all, wiping the bee from his lip. Deidara smirked down as he focused in on Naruto. Now's my chance to take the QB Jinchuriki as well and one-up that bastard Itachi. This kid was supposed to be his mark after all. Deidara patted Gaara's lifeless body, which was right next to him. I hope you're going to put up a better fight than this guy did, Sasuke smirked as he turned on his Sharingan while looking up at Deidara. Are you sure you want that? Because from what I can see, Gaara kind of took your arm off at the elbow. Do you really want Naruto to do anything worse than that? Deidara's eyes turned to Sasuke, who he had been overlooking at that point. Upon getting a good look at him, his eyes widened in anger. He looks just like that bastard. And those damned eyes of his, mocking my art. Naruto looked over at Sasuke when he noticed Deidara's stare fixed on his Uchiha teammate. Okay, here's the plan. I'm going to find some way to get up there, and then I'm going to see him into thin little s. You two can do whatever you want. Sounds good. Great, go Team 7. Naruto moved to begin his plan, when Kakashi grabbed him by the shoulder and pulled him back. Oi. What, Kakashi? Kakashi had lifted his Hatei 8 and now had his own Sharingan out as he looked up at Deidara. Naruto, can't you see he's trying to lure you out to capture you? You are his group's objective, and separating you from us would be the easiest way for him to get you. Naruto looked between his squad leader and the target of his ever-fluctuating rage and anger. Well, yeah, but if I don't go up there and chase him, then he'll just leave. Then he'll come back later and try to get the drop on me. On the other hand, why can't I just K him now and take out another member of Akatsuki? That would make 4 down, since that other guy in the cave isn't going to be around for too much longer. Deidara let out a laugh from above. You guys might want to go back inside and get those women out of trouble. Sasori no Dana is stronger than me. He'll turn both of those little girls into human puppets for sure. Sasuke and Naruto looked at each other for a moment before simultaneously breaking down in laughter, leaning against each other to keep from falling out on the ground. Deidara got a tick mark on his head as Naruto pulled himself up first, wiping a tear from his eye. Oh man. You're making it really hard to stay pissed off at you when you say funny s like that to my face. Sasuke nodded. He thinks they're going to lose. Does he have any idea how screwed that Sasori guy is? Deidara's demeanor turned when he saw Sasuke laughing at him. However, the two boys weren't really paying him much mind. Naruto pointed down, indicating the inside of the cave. Akiza-chan is going to see that guy up, just like what I'm going to do to our airborne Akatsuki friend. Currently, Deidara was torn between attempting to continue his plan to separate Naruto and attempt to capture him, run away from the 3 ninja, or stay and fight in an effort to remove 3 more Sharingan eyes from the world. The choice, however, was taken away from him when Naruto transmuted a rising platform to meet Deidara in the air again. Deidara took flight even higher to avoid contact while he formed a clay sculpture and threw it down below. The sculpture bomb exploded on contact with Naruto's platform and crumbled it, forcing Naruto to jump away and watch as Deidara began to retreat. Kakashi. Sasuke. Kakashi looked down as he didn't feel comfortable with leaving the others alone when Naruto yelled, "They'll all be fine. This guy's still got Gaara's body, and I'm not letting him get away." he said before he ran off in pursuit of the one-armed Akatsuki operative. Damn it, Naruto, Kakashi mumbled as he and Sasuke followed suit and ran behind the blonde Jinchuriki. XXX. Chio, Sakura, and Akiza looked on in apprehension at the sight of the Kazekige's corpse being controlled by Sasori. The two younger girls couldn't believe that this was humanly possible, and he wanted their be as well to turn into puppets after the fight was over. Not a snowball's chance in hell. The puppet immediately made for Chio, as Sasori had judged her to be the slowest out of the group he was fighting and possibly the most dangerous. It attempted an attack with a retractable claw on its left arm. Akiza moved and intercepted the attack with her polearm weapon as Sakura attempted to use that as an opening to attack it from an angle. The Kazekige puppet revealed a retractable side in its right arm when it turned to retaliate on the pink-haired girl. Sakura avoided the swing due to a combination of her own dodging skill, and Akiza grabbing a hold of the puppet to keep it from lunging out at her. With a handful of the Kazekige's black cloak she pulled it in and headbutted it, sending it flying off of her halberd. She then grabbed the new bee bruise on her forehead almost in tears and mouthed, "Ouch," lowly, because in hindsight headbutting a puppet was a terrible idea. Akiza made her way back to Chio and Sakura, who noticed her disorientation at the moment. "Akiza-chan, are you okay?" Akiza steadied her movement and attempted to shake off the cobwebs. "Yeah, fine, I'm just getting over a mild concussion at the moment. Give me a second to work it out." Kami that felt almost as bad as headbutting Fullmetal. Sakura nodded and moved out ahead of Chio and Akiza. Sasori shook his head. "That's not going to be enough. Senju Sobu, Thousand Hands Manipulation Military Art." The left arm of the Kazekige puppet opened up a series of compartments that revealed summoning seals. Akiza, even with her swimming vision, was able to make out the nature of the seals, having dealt with Jiraiya and Naruto both writing them all over the place for 2 years. Sakura. Before any response could be made, a large amount of long puppet arms emerged from the seals at Sakura. She narrowly avoided the first attack that crumbled the ground and crushed the rocks that they made contact with. That was not the end of the assault, as they simply bent towards her direction and continued to go after her. The arms shot off a series of wires with kunai anchors, intending to bind Sakura in place and end her free mobility about the battlefield. Akiza marveled at how well Sakura was handling the situation as she recovered next to Chio. What kind of training must she have gone through to get that good at avoiding attacks? Chio answered her, all the while keeping her eyes on the scene unfolding in front of them. A medic nin must be able to avoid damage in order to assist their comrades at the end of battles. This girl trained under the best medical ninja in the world, even better than myself, thus she would learn how to stay out of the way of attacks better than almost anyone else. The puppet arms finally shot off a container of poison gas that attempted to engulf Sakura. Akiza grit her teeth as she saw the cloud burst near her teammate. No. Kaiten, Hausenka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Sakura let out a volley of small fireballs that hit the cloud and caused an explosion with the unstable gas. Before the smoke could clear, Akiza pushed her way through the cover and attacked the puppet while it was stuck in place holding the massive amount of arms on its body. A nasty surprise was waiting for her, however, when she got close enough to attack up close with her weapon. The left arm of the puppet dropped the extended puppet arms and revealed a buzzsaw that nearly see her in half at the waist before a hidden scythe from the right arm nearly caught her in the Doten, Iwa no Kujiki, Earth Release, Rock Attack. Backing away, Akiza made one-handed hand seals and the pole end of Seki Kiritateru into the ground, bringing up half a dozen kickball-sized rocks from the cave floor that she rapidly and nimbly kicked at full power at the Kazekige puppet and even Sasori himself. Sasori moved out of the way of the attacks, but the puppet simply used its buzzsaw to see through them. Damn it, Akiza said as she saw how easily Sasori avoided the jutsu she fired at both the nuke nin and his puppet. You took quite a chance to escape that move, didn't you, Sakura? Sakura appeared, a little singed, but more or less alright. I guess it's a good thing that Sasuke-kun made me learn a combat ninjutsu. Thank goodness it doesn't have that high of a chakra demand compared to his other Kaiten ninjutsu. You two have both done very well thus far. Chio said as she pulled a scroll from her back, but sometimes it takes a puppeteer to combat another one safely. Both of you have come dangerously close to being poisoned multiple times, so it's time for me to step in. Akiza shook her head, as if old lady. I'm not just going to sit back while you and your jerk puppet using grandson hash it out puppeteer style. I'm going to K him, get out of here and find Fullmetal, and then I'm going to help him K the other guy. A surprisingly powerful grip of Chio's right hand pulling her backwards put that thought to rest very quickly. Chio simply moved ahead of the girls wordlessly and in a puff of smoke summoned two puppets, one a female with black hair, the other a male with red hair. Say hello to your mother and father, Sasori. XXX. Naruto out off Sasuke out off Kakashi vs. Deidara. Naruto and Sasuke were running next to another side by side as Deidara maneuvered them through a canyon with large tree branches crossing between the valley walls. Sasuke grumbled as he and his blonde teammate remained in pursuit. Is all this guy going to do run? I thought he was here to capture you. It's kind of hard to catch someone if all you do is retreat like a scared child. Just keep running, team. If an advance is going too well, it's an ambush. Naruto said, he's trying to separate us, and I would tell you to drop back and let him have what he wants, but if you do that here he'll have the advantage in the fight. I can't beat him here, so you're just going to have to bear it for a while. Deidara looked back over his shoulder and frowned visibly at how Naruto and Sasuke were effortlessly keeping up with him. He wasn't trying to lose Naruto, granted, but the chase should have been provoking him and blinding him with anger. So far nothing he did could make this kid see red, not sitting on Gaara's S-body, not saying that his friends inside were going to S, not calling him out, hell not even leading him on this chase was making him angry enough to shirk all general intelligent view and simply attempt to L him limb from limb. Deidara's working arm spit out a few clay pieces that he worked into bird figures that he threw back towards Naruto and Sasuke. In flight the birds expanded in size and went in on their kamikaze mission to explode on either Sasuke or Naruto. As the boys dodged the explosions, Sasuke noticed Deidara's movements with his active Sharingan, right up to the part where he saw the chakra that the Iwa Nuke Nin generated to make the figurines. This brought a smirk to his face. Those figures of his, they're earth-based. And Naruto said after they had avoided the explosions, I'll show you when we get him to stop. Sasuke hinted. Meanwhile, Kakashi was stuck behind the two playing catch-up. Ugh, I'm getting too old for this. What the hell am I saying? I'm only 29 years old. Damn kids. Maybe I should finish it with that. He thought about picking up the pace and taking utter command of the situation, but Naruto wasn't flying off the handle the way he assumed he would, and he truthfully wanted to see how they both would handle the situation, so for the moment he was putting matters into the hands of Naruto and Sasuke. Nah, they've got it under control for the time being. With the two boys, Sasuke's smirk became more prominent as they easily avoided Deidara's explosive surprises that he would place for them lying in wait. Naruto, skip that branch there. Both did as Sasuke's verbal instructions indicated and ended up avoiding a tricky pair of clay explosives molded into the shape of spiders. You're really pointing his traps out, team. Naruto commented, he hasn't even come close to catching us with anything yet. Sasuke kept his eyes firmly on Deidara above with Naruto in his peripheral so he could keep his pace and footing even with him. I can see everything he's doing the moment he tries anything. This kind of low-level stuff isn't nearly enough to catch me off guard. Well, it's good to see that you're still humble after all of these years. Naruto said sarcastically, now keep going. This son of AB isn't getting away from us. XXX. Sakura to Faiza out if Shio vs. Sasori. Mother and father. Sakura asked, confused by the situation, I don't understand. Shio kept her eyes on Sasori as she flexed her fingers to get them loose for the fight. These puppets were the first two created by Sasori after his parents were killed in war. He made them in the image of his mother and father in the hopes that doing so would make him feel loved. I came into possession of them after he left sooner. Akiza smirked, so maybe this will give us some kind of psychological advantage over him. Alright then, Chio-bar, show us what you've got. You failed to mention one thing, Bar-san. Sasori said, the only reason you came into possession of them is because I grew tired of them and left them behind. My human puppets are far superior. Chio said nothing and sent the two puppets out to attack. Ha, mother puppet drew a katana to use while Shishi, father puppet, pulled out a chain of kunai as weapons to take on Sasori and the Sandaime Kazekage puppet. While the puppets clashed in a melee of physical weaponry, Sasori continued to speak. Do you know what truly makes a human puppet utterly superior to the regular ones in use by the rest of the puppeteers in the world? They keep their chakra that they're possessed in life. This means that they can still use all of the techniques that they gained up until their deaths. Sasori forced his Kazekage puppet back and forced it to open its mouth, letting grains of iron emerge from within it. Akiza looked on curiously but with misgiving. What on earth is that? Chio began to sweat somewhat. That is the Kekkei Genkai of the Sandaime Kazekage, Satetsu, Iron Sand. Sakura and Akiza paled. For some reason that doesn't sound very good for our health and well-being. Akiza quipped with a sweet drop on her head. The sand started forming a shape in front of the puppet. Satetsu Keshu, Iron Sand gathering, the sand amassed and formed into a large spear with one particularly sharp end that was then sent careening at the women. All three separated to dodge the attack that ended up into a wall of the cave before it pulled out and went chasing after Sakura, Chio, and the puppets she had been using. Akiza growled in anger and attempted to attack Sasori while he was occupied with chasing the others down. She s her weapon into the ground and made hand seals, Doten, Iwa Nade, Earth Release, Rock Slide. After finishing her hand seals she picked up her halberd and threw it at Sasori who dodged and allowed it to hit the wall behind him. Akiza made a come-hither motion with her index and middle fingers to the wall that her weapon hit, forcing it to crumble and come down at Sasori from behind. The iron sand that had been attacking Sakura and Chio came back to Sasori and changed shapes, taking the form of a wall that blocked the falling rocks with a terrible clanging noise. Akiza scoffed and placed her fingers back in the same gesture as she motioned to the ruined wall. Cake Tekuru, return, the halberd flew out of the wreckage that she had just caused and back into her hand. Akiza-chan, look out. As she caught her weapon a shadow appeared over her head, Akiza said as a massive iron hammer down on top of her from above. Sakura gasped in horror at the sight of the hammer down and cratering the ground where it hit, tears almost springing to her eyes at the sight of her teammate being in front of her. Sasori forced the Kazekage puppet to turn its assault onto Chio's puppets. The hammer into the Ha-Ha puppet just as its arms opened up in segments and projected a thin, protective film of chakra that covered its body and took the blunt impact of the hammer, Kiku Junbu, mechanic light shield seal. Sasori watched, a face showing nothing but disinterest. So you've given him some upgrades in my absence, Abar-san. Old lady Chio, your grandson is an A. A muffled voice said nearby, Doten, Moguraga Core no Jutsu, Earth Release. Hiding like a mole jutsu. Akiza burst out of the ground next to Chio and Sakura, covered in scuff marks from maneuvering through the earth. Akiza, you're alive, Sakura exclaimed in surprise, checking her over. Akiza smiled fondly, yes I'm fine Sakura. I won't be that simple to get rid of. She looked over at the Kazekage puppet. That damn thing is wearisome, I'm going in and dismantling that stupid string puppet. She channeled chakra to her legs, something done with Naruto to help her train her taijutsu style for extra speed and strength, and rushed across the cave at Sasori. Sasori shook his head, I'm getting very tired of dealing with you all. The puppet returned to his side, between the dodging, the attacking, and my dear grandmother's futile attempts to beat me with my old puppets. I've wasted far too much time here with all of you. It's time for this to end. Satetsu Shiga, Iron Sand Drizzle. The iron sand hardened into microscopic grains widely in front of Sasori and the puppet before shooting out at all of them. Akiza's eyes widened as she saw the miniature projectiles coming at her. In response she threw a rapid set of hand seals, Iwa no Yoroi, stone armor. Her body rapidly summoned the hardened minerals from around her to engulf her body in the translucent body covering just in time for her to take the brunt of the attack. The small iron bullets and needles impacted off of her body hard enough to throw her backwards, sending her sprawling head over heels. The attack was too quick and widespread for her to dodge. She simply had to make sure she survived it. Chio moved the Ha-Ha and Shishi puppets in front of herself and Sakura to block the sand with her puppets and their chakra shields. A small smirk came to Sasori's face. This happened. Thank you for falling into the trap, grandmother. You know well that you need to keep moving to avoid that jutsu, but you were too concerned with saving the little girl. I'll simply KO you all right now and save the little weapon-wielding girl for last. Chio tried to move the puppets, but found that the joints were clogged with the iron sand just as Sasori set up another attack with Satetsu Shiga. As the attacks surrounded both her and Sakura, Sasori laughed victoriously, signaling the sand to rain down on them and finish them off. However, when the dust from the attack cleared, Chio was in front of Sakura with her right hand extended, However, it was a puppet arm with the same compartment extended as the parent puppets had, and it was exuding a chakra film that was protecting both her and Sakura. Sasori looked at the arm in interest. Your arm, you've rigged your very own body. He laughed slightly. We puppeteers definitely think along the same lines. Maybe so, Chio stated. Akiza pulled herself off of the ground and looked at Chio's arm. It's fake, like Fullmetal's auto mail. Sasori simply shrugged. Oh well. The sand is also coursing through that arm as well, so it's useless now. Chio let the puppets she had been controlling fall to the ground with sand falling from their joints. We'll never get close enough to deal any damage at this rate. Akiza frowned. Speak for yourself. I'm nowhere near ready to throw in the towel yet. She noticed that Sasori's last attack was actually forceful enough to chip away at some of her armor, pieces that she quickly reassembled at the cost of even more of her chakra. If this is the way he's going to fight us from here on out, I need to keep this on. Even a little scratch equals our defeat against Sasori, and I'm not here. She once again channeled chakra to her legs and went in after Sasori, channeling chakra to Seki Kiritateru before spinning it like a fan blade until it became a mere blur. Kawami Niki Kirichirasu, endless ecstasy down all. You are extremely annoying girl. Sasori mentioned. I guess it's finally time for me to use the Kazekage to take that little toy away from you. A compartment opened in the Kazekage's sea and began to glow, but after a moment when nothing happened, Sasori's eyes widened. What? Akiza smirked. Seki Kiritateru barely tolerates me using it. There's no way it would let some abomination of humanity take control of it, even if it did have magnetic powers. My blade is a real arch bastard like that. You should hear about some of the other things that it does to me just for wielding it. Don't ever bank on your secret moves to simply stop me in my tracks. The sand tried to amass in front of the puppet to form some kind of defense, but Akiza's rapidly spinning blade simply blew them all away, allowing her close enough to get to Sasori. Before she could begin carving into him, she was forced to turn and defend an attack from the Sandime Kazekage puppet, who tried attacking with its buzzsaw. Akiza's spinning blade and the buzzsaw both clashed. The speed and velocity of both spinning blades coming into contact against one another sent both flying back from the recoil. While Akiza stayed up front attempting to keep Sasori busy, Chio and Sakura stayed back, enacting a plan to get the upper hand in the battle. Sakura, I definitely do not have the power needed to destroy that puppet, and your friend Akiza might, but due to her being the only close-range combat specialist among us, Sasori is focused on her and keeping her from getting any openings to attack and finish him off. You have the strength needed to get in close and destroy that puppet from your training with the slug woman, don't you? Sakura nodded tentatively. She had been taught the technique to enhance her attacks from Tsunade during her training. Chio put her right hand on her shoulder. This seems to be beyond us all. You must avoid all of his iron sand attacks and destroy his puppet. Only your friend seems to be fast enough to get inside of his defenses, and even she seems stuck and unable to progress any further to attack him. Sakura clenched her fists as she saw Akiza continue to attempt to get to Sasori, but fail, as he was now able to get the iron sand in on the fight, forcing her to defend against both the Kazekage puppet itself and its iron sand, and she could never seem to maneuver herself to get the iron sand to attack the puppet itself or Sasori himself. However, she did note in particular how Akiza did her damnedest to avoid even the slightest touch from the attacks. Despite her wearing her armor, everything he has is poisoned, isn't it? Chio nodded. In order to get close throughout all of the attacks, you would need a lot of fighting experience and knowledge of the techniques being used to assault you. I think it would be best if you two left the area. Even for one such as me, the situation seems hopeless. Sakura held her hands out in front of herself, seemingly in inner turmoil. What can I do? She watched chunks of Akiza's armor get away as the Kazekage's buzzsaw arm see her while she had been avoiding the iron sand. However, she wasn't being given any time or opportunity to replace the pieces that she lost, leaving her actual body open to attack. Sakura finally snapped, Chio-sama, please use me. That surprised the elderly woman and got her attention. I cannot support you as much as I would have been able to with both arms. Sakura waved off her concern. That's fine. I may not have amazing weapons in me like a puppet or Akiza-chan, and I may not have any incredible attack ninjutsu, but what I do have is Tsunade Shushu's contempt for losing. Chio laughed inwardly. The Sandime's magnetic abilities make your steel and iron weapons ineffective. It's amazing that your friend somehow kept her blade. Sakura pounded her palm with a fist. That's perfect, because I also got her unarmed combat skills. Chiyo took control of Sakura's body with chakra strings before sending her in to do battle, just as Akiza got herself out of her own melee. Sasori looked her over with disdain, and now the other little girl wants to fight as well, I see. Fine. He diverted some of the iron sand from the fight with Akiza and formed a pyramid with it in order to send out at Sakura to end her life. Sakura avoided the attack and watched as it plowed into the cave walls, but as she was watching that, a large block of iron sand tried to crush her from above. Sakura avoided it and came back in with her fist aired back to unleash a thunderous punch that sent the block flying into another wall with vicious force. Wow, Akiza commented as she took note of the scene after witnessing Sakura's raw strength before rocks started coming down around her. Oh, she really seriously caused a cave-in with that. The battle was beginning to wear on Sakura as she was panting heavily after fending off the iron sand attack, but she was beginning to get Sasori's attack patterns down due to watching his battle with Akiza and from avoiding his attacks herself. It seems like I need to end this now. Sasori made an odd shape with the iron sand as he levitated it high into the air. Satatsu Kaiho, Iron Sand World Order. Immediately many iron branches began to spike out from the bulk in the center of the jutsu. It began impaling everywhere around the battlefield, branching out in no real pattern and going in other directions randomly. Akiza tried dodging but ended up taking a shot right to the torso that cracked her armor thoroughly and took her breath from her violently. It almost came close to spiking her into a ruined wall, but she rolled off of the edge and fell to the ground holding her stomach and coughing heavily. Damn it, that broke a few ribs. She tried quickly returning to her feet, but fell back to the ground as B came from her mouth in another cough. Her armor dropped as the strain on her now damaged body and chakra reserves to keep it active was simply too high. Sakura was in the middle of all of the iron bars, all of them stuck in the ground around her, surrounding her in a hodgepodge jungle of iron with multiple C on her body. Sakura was weakly swaying on her feet, looking woozy before dropping face first to the ground. Sakura! Chiyo cried out in alarm. Sasori chuckled, well, you can't honestly say that you're surprised. Chiyo narrowed her eyes. Of course, you put poison in the iron sand. The poison is very effective. Its effects are already taking hold. Her body is numb and immobile. Well, if I leave her alone she has 3 days. Sasori commented offhandedly, but that's not what I really plan to do. He finished as he sent the Kazekage puppet back in, the scythe from its right arm exposed. Right before it finished Sakura off, she jumped back to her feet and shattered the puppet with one punch. Akiza pulled her way over to Chiyo and used the ruined rocks to retake her standing position, keeping her feet by Seki Kiritateru into the ground. She played possum. That was a good move. Chiyo watched as Sakura made her way back over quickly with a vial in her hand, the antidote. I only have one left, I'll give it to one of you. Akiza waved it off. Give it to old lady Chiyo. If he actually hits me now that his stupid unhittable puppet is in splinters, then I guess I deserve to rest here. She then painfully grabbed her body, though I could stand to get a little pick-me-up if you know what I mean. Chiyo snapped out of her disbelief when Sakura went over to Akiza, who slumped against the rocks and sat on the ground. As she activated Shaozen Jutsu, Mystical Palm Jutsu, to begin healing Akiza's injuries, Chiyo finally spoke. When did you? Sakura smiled. When I made the antidote for Kankuro I was only able to make 3 with the supplies I had on hand. But because I knew that one of the people we were chasing used poison, I put it into quick use form. But it only works for 3 minutes. No matter how much poison we take in 3 minutes, the body will just turn it into harmless protein because of the antidote. Her face turned serious. I was waiting for him to use his trump card so that I could catch him off guard. I couldn't use it until the very last moment. So now we have to finish this in the next 3 minutes, which is how long I am immune to his poison. Akiza leaned her head against the rocks she was seated against. So you two are going to be immune while I'm still vulnerable. Fine. I guess I have to make sure that I don't get hit again. As long as he doesn't have anything like that last jutsu he used, I should be okay. She took her fingers and pressed them against her body, only wincing slightly. Thank you, Sakura. It's not 100%, but it's just enough for me to work with. She reached into her supply pouch and popped a soldier pill. Sakura helped her teammate back to her feet. She looked winded from all she had been doing but simply dusted herself off and looked back out at Sasori. There's no time to waste. Are you ready, Chiyo-sama? Sasori looked on from across the battlefield. How is she moving? The poison should have taken effect by now. Did she use an antidote? How? Did she use the poison I used on that Suna brat to make it? He tried to calm himself. No, it would take someone even beyond Chio Abasan's skill to make an antidote. He then saw Sakura activate Shaozen no Jutsu and heal the wounds on her person. The brat is a medical ninja too. It then finally hit him. No way. Sakura finished healing herself. That should take care of the big wounds. I need to focus the rest of my chakra towards attacking. She turned around when Akiza patted her firmly on the shoulder. The dark-skinned girl had a confident look on her face as she stared out at Sasori. Finish this guy off in 3 minutes or less. It certainly sounds doable, she said, turning to the pink-haired medic with a grin. Sasori simply stared back out at them and undid the buttons on his cloak. I wonder how long it's been since the trouble I had getting into Akatsuki. From what the three women saw, it caused them to stare in shock at Sasori's body. Chio answered the question on their minds. Since he left Suna he hasn't aged. He's just like he was long ago, and this is why. That I've had to use myself. Sasori's face held an inhuman look on it. A direct contrast to the calm visage he held just a moment prior. From Sasori's back there were two bladed propellers. From his stomach there was an open compartment with a steel cable that had a stinger on the end. There was a closed compartment on the right side of his C, and on the left side there was some sort of talisman planted in his C. On his back there were multiple summoning scrolls held for easy access. He turned himself into a human puppet. Akiza shook her head at the sight. Why do I always end up fighting the immortal D? XXX. Naruto out of Sasuke out of Kakashi vs. Deodara. Stop running, you prick. Naruto shouted up to Deodara as the chase continued. Deodara looked over his shoulder and down at the pursuing Konoha ninja. Kmia, Naruto growled in annoyance and turned to Sasuke. You wouldn't happen to have anything that could reach him from here, would you? Sasuke turned to Naruto and nodded. I do. It might not hit him because it's not really fast, but I do. It's accurate but not speedy, he said as he pulled a pair of shuriken from his pouch. Naruto grinned. What a coincidence, because I do too. It's just speedy and not very accurate. Go figure. Sasuke returned his grin with a smirk. So what are we going to do? Naruto looked up at the fleeing Deodara. That's not to say I can't hit him, it's just that if he knew it was coming he could dodge it without too much trouble from this range. I need a diversion. Just make sure that whatever it is you're doing has his pure and undivided attention, because I'm going to need it. Up above, Deodara frowned as he reached into the pouch he had on hand. I'm out of exploding clay. What to do? What to do? XXX. Sakura out of Faiza out of Shio vs. Sasori. Akiza had raised a wall of rock from the ground to defend. This took more chakra than her wall of mud, but it was completely necessary for the time being because, damn it, this is insane. Who does stuff like this to their own body? How can you do something like this to your own body? It's a flamethrower for Kami's sake, because Sasori was shooting flames at him from flamethrowers built into his palms. What's wrong? Sasori taunted as he turned the flames off from his smoking palms. What the F do you think is wrong, you smarter team? Akiza shouted from behind their cover. She then s her fist into the ground hard. Damn it. Your antidote only has about a minute left. She spoke quietly to Sakura. Sakura frowned as she realized that she was right. Has it stopped? She questioned and peeked out from behind the protective wall, only to see Sasori shoot his stinger-tipped cable out at them. It maneuvered around the wall and gaffed Sakura in the side before sticking into the wall behind them. Sakura looked behind her while clutching her wound and noticed that the cable went slack. As she turned back she saw Sasori flying over their cover. Sakura grabbed onto the cable and held Sasori back, even when he tried to get to Chio and Akiza by using his propellers for extra momentum. Akiza moved behind him and stopped his propellers with her halberd. The sudden loss of momentum let Sakura pull him in and deliver a direct hit to his puppet body, forcing it into segments. Akiza pumped her fist. Hell yes. You've got to be able to hit harder than Fullmetal with the way you fight. Sakura smiled. We actually beat him before the time with the antidote ran out. Her success was short-lived when Sasori's body reformed behind her, no worse for wear. Sigh, I never thought I would have to use this jutsu again. I forbade myself from doing so. Chio pulled out a scroll and unraveled it. I'll finish this now. The seals on the scroll came off of it and took the shape of 10 different puppets. Now that's impressive, Abar-san. Sasori commented. They say that the strength of a puppeteer is measured by the amount of puppets they use. Your great finger-by-finger technique, said to have taken down an entire castle single-handedly. Shirohige, Juki Chikamatsu no Shu, White Secret Technique, 10 puppet collection of Chikamatsu. Sasori pulled a scroll from his own back. That is a lot of puppets. But, as he unsealed the scroll in the air, a massive puff of smoke took place. At the same time, the compartment in the right side of his D opened up as massive amounts of chakra strings emerged. The smoke then cleared to reveal countless puppets hovering in the air above. With this, I took down a whole country. I mean, seriously, how long does it take for me to finish off a pair of little girls and an old hag, to the point where I had to use my best puppets? AKA Higi, Hayaki no Suen, Red Secret Technique, performance of 100 puppets. Sakura. Chio said, your antidote has already worn off, don't do anything. Sakura's response was interrupted by a feminine laugh that grew louder and louder, finally garnering attention from the two Kunoichi. They soon realized that Akiza had been the one that had been laughing the entire time. Akiza-chan, what's so funny about this? Akiza stopped laughing and impaled her weapon in the ground while holding one hand on her hip. The thing that this idiot doesn't realize is that I've been training with Fullmetal non-stop for 2 years. Non-stop. Can you tell me what that means? Sakura stared at her in confusion. What? Akiza grinned. Can you tell me what one of Fullmetal's best moves are? Apparently it was one of the first real jutsu he learned. Then you'll know why I could honestly care less about a measly 100 puppets. It took a moment, but Sakura finally understood. Her eyes widened in realization. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Mass Shadow Clone Jutsu. Akiza nodded. Fullmetal makes so many more than this just as a warm-up. It was scary until I got used to it. And do you know how I got used to it? He would make hordes of them and send them at me until I couldn't stand any more. Can you imagine fighting upwards of 1,000 insane, independent Fullmetals at the exact same time? Compared to that, this is simply a remedial course for little old me. Sakura looked out at the crowd of puppets and punched her palm. Fine then. Chio-sama, we're not staying back, we'll kick their ourselves. Akiza pulled her halberd out of the ground and stood in a ready stance. Here they come. Chio flexed her fingers and combined the arms of 2 of the puppets as Sasori's own came rushing into attack. Akiza didn't wait to simply defend against them and ran out ahead to attack them herself. As Sasori's puppets bared down on Chio, her conjoined puppets attacked. The first one threw the second one out as a sharp, sweeping attack that threw a huge amount of them right off of the bat. Another of her puppets wielded a sword that right through anything it came up against. 3 more of them joined together and opened their mouths. Sanbo Kyukai, 3 Buddhist treasure inhaling defeat. The 3 formed a huge vacuum that sucked anything in its path into it, and destroyed it. The puppets were picking apart Sasori's forces, but there were simply too many and they were slowly overwhelmed. On Akiza's part, she wasn't having any trouble at all, because despite the massive numbers disadvantage, they still had something that Naruto didn't give her when she fought his Kage Bunshin hordes. They attacked in a pattern that she was able to quickly identify. After discovering this, she gleefully took to see them to shards to the extent that Sasori pulled them back to keep her from utterly destroying them all. Ah, you're no fun. She pouted before shrugging and making hand seals. Well, as fun as it was tearing your best puppets apart, you've put them all out of my reach, and since my fun is over, this fight should be over. You might have had a much better chance of winning if I wasn't here. Doton, Doryuden no Jutsu, Earth Release, Earth Dragon Jutsu. A rock dragon emerged from the ground and absolutely eradicated all of the puppets that had simply retreated out of her range. Akiza laughed in maniacal amusement as pieces of broken puppets came down around her before she reined herself in with an embarrassed blush on her face. Maybe living with Fullmetal and his crazy brother is starting to make me appreciate random acts of mass destruction too much. Sakura meanwhile was hammering away at Sasori's puppets one at a time when one got into her blind spot and came at her with a hidden blade. Chio saw this coming and remembered what Sakura had said about the antidote before throwing her body in the way and taking the blow on her arm instead. Chio-sama. Sakura cried out in panic. This also got Akiza to get back over to the rest of them to fight off the rest of the puppets and keep them from the wounded Chio. Sakura immediately made her way over in concern. Sakura, let your friend handle the rest of the puppets. Go for Sasori himself. She placed an object in Sakura's hand. Use it. Sakura nodded and looked over at Sasori before running towards him. A mass of puppets blocked her path before a spinning halberd flying through the air see through them like a hot knife through butter. Sakura looked back and saw that Akiza had launched her weapon at them to keep her safe and was currently holding off the remainder of Sasori's puppets without her armament. This is it. Sakura threw a strange object full speed at Sasori. As if flew through the air, it grew and took the form of an open pair of jaws that hit Sasori's body and pinned him to the wall, forming a seal where it hit. All of the rest of the puppets dropped lifelessly to the ground, allowing Sakura to rest easily. We actually did it. Pant pant. Chio was visibly suffering from the poison that Sasori had inflicted her with. It is over, Sasori. That sealing jutsu completely suppresses all chakra. You can't even use chakra thread. Sakura yelled out to her, Chio-sama, take the antidote. One of the fallen hooded puppets rose from behind Chio with a katana in hand. Sakura made her way to intercept as quickly as she could and managed to protect Chio from being S by taking the blow with her own body. She looked over her shoulder, B from her mouth, hurry and take the antidote, Chio-sama. The hood of the puppet came off to reveal another body of Sasori, worrying about the old hag, even with an injury like this. What a girl. Chio injected the antidote into Sakura instead of herself, surprising Sasori with her actions. Sasori let go of the blade in Sakura's body as he realized that even with the blade in her she was already healing herself and attempted to attack them again once and for all with a hidden blade on his person. Kaketekuru, return. Before Sasori could even blink or respond, Akiza's halberd found itself buried into his sea, more specifically right through the talisman in the center of his sea. Finally, Akiza removed a pile of puppets from atop her body as she stood up. Do you know how long I've been trying to get a good enough angle on that bastard for that to actually work? Chio smirked. Now you can't move for certain, Sasori. It doesn't matter whether your body is a puppet or not, you still needed a real part of your body to control chakra. And from your other body just that left part of your sea was intact. That was your weak point. The only real part of the body you're currently in is the part that uses chakra. Sakura collapsed with the katana still in her body. Akiza ran over in concern. Sakura. Chio forcefully removed the sword from Sakura's body and went to healing her. Sasori, still with Akiza's halberd in him, spoke, it's useless. I hit a vital spot. Even without my poison she'll be S sooner rather than later, there's too much B loss. I intentionally aimed for somewhere that can't be treated easily since you're a medic nin as well. I've already stopped giving her medical treatment. Chio admitted, what I'm doing now isn't medical ninjutsu. I am giving her my own life energy, Kashu Tensei, one's own life reincarnation. Sasori's face reflected one of surprise, as was Akiza's, a reincarnation jutsu. Chio nodded and looked at Sasori. In the beginning it was for you. With this jutsu I can even give life to a puppet, in exchange for the user's life. But it's too late for that. You're so senile, Abar-san. Sasori said half-heartedly. Sakura started moving and trying to reach her feet. Chio assisted her. Sakura, are you alright? Her gaze was half-lidded and exhausted. Yes, thanks to you, Chio-sama. From that jutsu you just used. Sasori started. Doesn't the user S from giving up their life to a S person? Akiza haughtily tried pulling her stuck-fast halberd from Sasori's sea. That's because Sakura wasn't S yet, you skeptical moron. Sasori actually grunted upon having the B halberd attempted to be yanked from his body. That's a pity, his still standing body said. Sakura immediately stood and cracked him in the face. Give it up. If all you do is hit me, then your fist will simply hurt. This body feels no pain. I won't feel a thing if Chio Abar-san S here. My heart is just like the rest of this body. Of all of the people I've K in my life, she is just another one of them. Sakura clenched her fists. You're so F stupid. Is that what you think a shinobi is? Is that what you think B ties are? That's enough, Sakura. Chio said, it was the twisted teachings of Suna that made him this way. Maybe if you become like me you'll understand. Sasori added on, I am unfettered by a mere mortal lifespan. I can make as many people as I want out of puppets if I want them. Sakura growled at him, what the hell are you? Akiza twisted and finally pulled her blade from Sasori's sea, allowing him to drop to the ground in a heap. S. she said as she allowed Seki Kiritateru to return to the earth. Sakura allowed herself a small smile. Amazing. We actually did it. Akiza sighed and wiped her brow, and I can finally say that one of my fights has reached a level of massive environmental damage only previously thought possible by Fullmetal himself, speaking of whom. Chio dropped to her knees on the ground. Chio-sama. Sakura tried to move her. We need to get back to Suna. I can make another antidote. Chio shook her head. No. Akiza raised an eyebrow. Why? We've already done what we needed to do. We beat Sasori. If we don't get back and make the antidote, you know what will happen. Chio nodded. More importantly, there is still something I must do. XXX. Naruto out of Sasuke out of Kakashi vs. Deidara. Deidara looked down at Naruto and Sasuke, who was still in pursuit. What are those stupid kids doing now? Naruto looked over at Sasuke. Are you finally ready, team? Sasuke scoffed and rolled his eyes. You try setting this up while jumping between tree branches and trying to look inconspicuous. He focused back on Deidara. Whatever, just get ready to follow up if this misses. Sasuke let loose an entire fistful of shuriken at Deidara. The airborne missing nin saw it coming and laughed. You really can't believe that a simple attack like that will hit me, He moved his bird out of the way only to widen his visible eye in surprise when a few seconds later the shuriken all came back around and surrounded him, coming back in. Sasuke allowed the shuriken to freely glide with just subtle movements of his fingertips, the thing that everyone seems to forget after they talk about the Sharingan and even the Kaiten techniques is that the Uchiha clan were also masters of wire work. Sao Shuriken no Jutsu, manipulated shuriken jutsu. Deidara escaped the attack on all sides by flying his bird directly up. Damn it, those bastard eyes. Naruto transmuted his arm into a familiar long pipe shape and kneeled down to take aim. Naruto's new rifle arm took a sleeker and longer form, and now had crosshairs for more precise aiming. Good going, Sasuke. Now it's time for the new and improved Sogeki Sanden, shot sniper. Sasuke looked his arm and then at him in surprise. That's an improved version. What the hell did the original look like? A muzzle flash and a sharp crack noise proceeded along, sharp cone-shaped bullet firing from Naruto's arm and L right through the end of Deidara's bird as well as his one remaining arm, as the bullet hit him in the shoulder, making it a useless slab of meat and muscle from the amount of damage the bullet did. Damn it, Naruto said as he transmuted his arm back to normal while he and Sasuke sped up to close the distance. I was aiming for his head but he was still able to dodge. Either that or I need to balance the make of the structure more. Maybe I should work some spiral grooves into the barrel for added accuracy and speed. Speculate over your miserably failed shot later, Dobe. Sasuke cracked. We've got a Kazekage to catch. Deidara's bird was shot down over the forests that surrounded the canyon he had been leading Naruto and Sasuke through. As they got near the falling head of the bird that Deidara had placed Gaara in for safekeeping, Naruto clapped his hands and placed them on the ground to form a giant hand that reached up and caught the head before safely bringing it down and receding back into the earth. Naruto and Sasuke swiftly moved to it and Naruto immediately clawed his way into the clay with his bare hands while Sasuke kept his eyes peeled defensively. Naruto eventually reached Gaara's body and put a look of sadness and failure on his face. Gaara, I'm so sorry. He turned to where Deidara was standing in the trees. Now what was it that I said I was going to do with you? Oh yeah, I was going to disembowel you with my bare hands. Deidara smirked even though with one arm missing and the other one turned for all intents and purposes into a useless hunk of hanging meat. He was completely useless. I'll fight you again soon enough, Naruto gave Deidara a dark grin. Now the way you say it you make it seem like I'm giving you a choice in the matter. Sasuke smirked next to Naruto. You let your guard down. Deidara felt a pull on his wounded shoulder as he turned to take a Naruto haymaker with his auto-mail arm that sent him flying. The Naruto next to Sasuke smirked cruelly. Beat his a boss. The original Naruto pressed his advantage and dropped from the tree on top of Deidara, making 4 Bunshin to grab a hold of his limbs while he kicked off of his body like a trampoline to shoot back into the air before descending with his leg in a heel drop. The clones roughly Deidara's body into the ground, making cracks appear under him while the original followed up by driving a spinning heel into the back of his N, feeling the spine give way underneath him. Sankakusu Kese, Delta Formation. Just S. Naruto. Sasuke said after Naruto had finished his combination. The blonde looked at what should have been a broken pile of Deodara and grit his teeth in anger when all he found was a pile of clay. Sasuke looked around for any sign of Deodara. That was one fast Kawarimi, to switch out in a split second right before Naruto grabbed a hold of him. Sasuke noticed an orange aura begin to form around Naruto and raised his eye. So that's the Kyuubi's chakra shroud, huh? It's actually kind of cool when you're not using it to S me around. Naruto nodded and tried to calm himself by looking at the bee on his hand from when he punched Deodara. It's okay. He's still around. I know I hit him hard. I felt his jaw crack and give way under my fist. Naruto turned to Sasuke, team. Sasuke see him off as if he could read his mind and kept his Sharingan beaded on his surroundings. I'm on it. If he even makes a move, I'll see it now. He has to actually leave to get away, and he sure as hell isn't getting away from us. Naruto turned around at the sound of leaves rustling to find that Kakashi, Akiza, Sakura, and Chio had caught up to them. Well, it took you long enough, you guys. Kakashi had his own Sharingan out and was looking around like Sasuke was. Well, I wanted to see how much you had grown while you were away, Naruto. I put you and Sasuke in the lead so that I could watch your skill from afar by letting you handle it yourself. I just decided to make sure that when the others caught up they could find us. Akiza crossed her arms in front of her. See, that Sasori bastard was a pain in the atake. You're making it up to me for leaving me behind to fight that guy. Naruto grinned, but there was no humor or amusement in it. Afraid I'll have to take a rain check on that, Akiza-chan. You see, I'm looking for the guy that Kagara, and then I'm going to do terrible things to him. You might not want to watch it up close. Chio's eyes panned over to the clone that was watching over Gaara's body in sorrow. I see. Sasuke didn't look back, but he had a smile on his face. I knew you could beat that guy, Sakura. Good work. Sakura smiled at the compliment right before Sasuke threw a kunai into the bushes, flushing out Deodara. Naruto immediately locked onto him and ran after in pursuit. Sasuke right at his side. Let's finish this. Naruto nodded and formed his arm blade as he jumped over Deodara and swung at him, intent on ending his life. Deodara had a kunai in his mouth to defend himself, but knew from the one punch that Naruto landed earlier that fighting him head-on with his kind of raw strength was a bad idea. How he was even holding the kunai in his mouth with the swollen jaw he was sporting was nothing short of a small miracle. Sasuke soon jumped into the melee and batted Deodara whenever Naruto missed due to his Sharingan picking up the pattern of Deodara's movements whenever he avoided a K-shot from the blonde alchemist. Suffice it to say, the combination of Sasuke and Naruto were, for a lack of better terms, kicking Deodara's A. Deodara took a kick to the back from Sasuke that sent him towards Naruto, who was banking on delivering an upkick to the body with his arm blade, intent on following through with his threat of disemboweling Deodara. Deodara spun around Naruto's fist, avoiding the attack, but upon spinning he ended up eating a kick directly to the face from Sasuke that sent him flying against a tree trunk. Deodara was seething as he stood back up. This is a fight that I can't win. Right when he said that, the rest of Team 7 alongside Team Guy came up behind Sasuke and Naruto. Deodara took off in an all-out retreat. There was no way that he was going to beat any of these people as he was. He was utterly maimed and unable to even defend himself. Once again he found himself being pursued, but let a smirk cross his face as he saw the body of his fallen clay bird that had been shot down by Naruto and Sasuke. He took cover behind it as everyone arrived to see him eating the clay. He stood chewing with a smile on his face. Witness my ultimate work of art. He said as his body began to swell. Art is an explosion. Neji's Byakugan caught sight of his channeling all of his chakra to his center. No way, he couldn't be. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Naruto, remember how I told you all of his explosive attacks were earth-based? Naruto nodded. So, he said quickly. Sasuke channeled lightning to his hand. Lightning beats earth, but I can't get close enough in time. Naruto clapped his hands. Leave that to me. Neji turned to the rest of the group to warn them. Everyone get away. Hurry. Naruto's hands were generating lightning which he let fly from his fingertips and hit Deodara directly. Sasuke, I defused the explosion. Finish it now. Sasuke rushed at Deodara with lightning around his hand, chirping rapidly, Chidori, 1000 birds. Sasuke's arm impaled Deodara right through the sea, but instead of falling to the ground he burst into smoke. Sasuke tensed up and looked around. Damn it, it was just a clone, where's the real one? Neji sighed in relief and everyone else looked around for Deodara. Naruto punched the ground, leaving a crater where his fist made contact. Damn it. That girly-looking son of AB got away. When did he even switch himself out? Kakashi placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. It's over. He's gone. But what was that jutsu that you used on Deidara just now? Naruto looked down. It wasn't a jutsu. It was more alchemy. It uses the actual charges from either my protons or my electrons in my body's atoms. It really takes it out of me. Naruto fell to his knees panting heavily. It's not like chakra, it's the energy in my body in its purest form being drained. The stuff that's actually holding my being together. Akiza came up and smacked him on the head. Don't use that attack, you idiot. You told me not to use my curse, well don't use stupid moves like that. Sorry Akiza-chan. Naruto said weakly as he crawled to where he clone had dispelled with Gaara's body before he finally passed out right next to it. Gaara, I'm sorry. XXX. In a field at the outside of the forest, Gaara's body was laid out on the grass. Sakura had checked his body over but there was no disputing it. Gaara was S. Naruto was seated next to his body with Akiza next to him on the grass helping to hold him up. Why Gaara? Why was it always Gaara? To have to S like this, Naruto said as a tear welled up in his eye. He actually did it. He became the Kazekage. Chio sighed. Calm down Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto glared up at her, too physically weak to do much else. Shut up. Tears were streaming down his face silently. If Suna hadn't put Shukaku in him then nothing like this ever would have happened. Did any of you ever even care about him at all, or was he just your Jinchuriki? And what the hell is that anyway? You just arrogantly made up that word as a damn label, as if he wasn't a person, as if Jinchuriki aren't real people. What the hell was it all for? He finished shouting, and wiping his eyes. Chio simply walked up to Gaara's body and kneeled down next to it before she started generating a jutsu. Sakura's eyes widened in shock. Chio-sama, that jutsu is. The old woman just smiled over her shoulder. Naruto shakily stood up on his feet and walked over to Chio. Just what the hell is it that you're trying to do? Sakura put a hand on his shoulder to keep him from acting rashly. She's bringing Gaara back. Naruto's eyes widened. Can she really do something like that? Something like this sounded familiar to him. Flashback, 9 years ago. Naruto sat in the woods with Joshiro. It was after the academy and Joshiro had been taking Naruto out and teaching him the theories of alchemy as well as he could for a few months now, every chance he could. Joshiro today, however, was not looking at Naruto with any inkling of fun in his eyes. It almost scared Naruto that his 9-year-old brother could put a face like that on at the drop of a hat. Joshiro sat down in front of Naruto and took a nearby stick before drawing in the dirt on the ground. He had been showing Naruto basic transmutation circles and even showing him different ones for more complex uses. Upon finishing he pointed at it. Do you see this transmutation circle, Naruto? Naruto looked down and noticed that it was very different, much more complex and elaborate than the basic circle that Joshiro had taught him how to make to get him used to manipulating the basic physical properties of things. Yeah, I see it, big boss. Joshiro nodded. Good. He then erased it quickly and with violence in his eyes. Now I never want you to even think about this ever again. Naruto blinked in surprise. You're probably wondering why I showed you this and then told you to never do anything involving this circle, right? Naruto nodded. You never want to ever use a transmutation that requires this circle. Why? Shouldn't I want to learn about all kinds of alchemy? Naruto asked innocently. Joshiro shook his head. There's just some stuff that people should never know, especially little kids like us. Some people like to try playing kami, to try and make themselves God, and this research is the usual result. This is human transmutation. But no matter what, you can never, ever transmutate human life. Naruto quirked an eyebrow, but you said that if we knew the physical makeup of things, what makes them, we can do anything. I want to use this. I want to see my parents, and meet them, and... Naruto was stopped in his tracks when Joshiro s him hard across the face, bringing tears to his eyes. Joshiro ran his hand through his white locks. I'm sorry, but I had to do that. I'm telling you all of this so that when you get good enough at alchemy you don't get the idea to try this for yourself. Yeah, I did say that you could, but it's absolutely impossible to do such with human life. You can't bring a person back to life when they for example. When a soul leaves the mortal plane it's gone, and we as human beings can never call it back. Any attempt will cause an alchemic rebound because there's absolutely nothing that we can possess that can match a human soul in value, absolutely nothing. The price you pay for the mere attempt to do so is horrific. This is the ultimate taboo to an alchemist, Naruto. My dad's notes were extremely specific on this. Never ever try this. It is an absolute abomination to life and it would be like spitting in Kami's and the Shinigami's faces. End flashback. Naruto shook that thought from his mind. This isn't alchemy, but still, but Gaara. Naruto was internally struggling with himself over the ethics of allowing this to happen before one thing jumped into his mind: equivalent exchange. It's the same for everything: alchemy, ninjutsu, life, everything. Naruto looked down at Chiyo. What is the cost of you using this to revive Gaara? He asked. Chiyo didn't answer, but Akiza did for her. The price of using this jutsu is the user's own life force. She looked sad as she relayed the information to Naruto. Chiyo finally spoke. I do not have enough life force in me to complete the technique. Before anyone could say anything, Naruto dropped to her side. Can you use mine? To finish the jutsu, can you use my life force as well? Chiyo looked at Naruto in surprise before nodding. In response, Naruto placed his hands on Gaara much like Chiyo had. As Chiyo's eyes slowly began to close from the exertion of using the jutsu, she looked at how intently Naruto was focusing on Gaara. It doesn't matter at all to him that Gaara is a shinobi from another nation. With a smile she looked up at Naruto. I am glad to have met a ninja like you in this world of shinobi that we old people have created. I have made nothing but mistakes in the past, but at the very end it seems that I am able to do the right thing. You will be an amazing person in the future. She looked up at Sakura, and Sakura, do not risk your life for an old hag like me next time. Protect what is important to you. You may become a kunoichi that surpasses your master. She then looked over at Akiza and motioned towards Naruto. Take care of him. He seems like the type to go off and do stupid things just because he can. Akiza chuckled and nodded even though tears were filling her eyes. She hadn't known her for long, but she and Sakura could both say that they had bonded with the old woman with the time between the traveling and the battle for their very lives. Naruto, I have one request from an old hag. Naruto looked at her attentively. Help Gaara out. Naruto nodded even though his own eyes started feeling heavy. Naruto's eyes shut as he lost his balance and hit the ground as the sound of a familiar voice brought back to life sounded up. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto lost consciousness with a smile on his face. Equivalent exchange. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.